It's Wednesday night, folks, and you know what that means. It's time for another Auburn Family live stream. This is a show that is produced by you and for you. It's about your topics, your comments, your questions, and your calls here on our Wednesday night live streams. Always brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Go check them out for not just a place to stay on the loveliest village on the plains, but to have a full Auburn experience. We'll talk more about them later on in the stream as well. But I want to welcome you into another Wednesday night live stream. There is plenty to discuss. If you cannot tell, the energy is high in E2C Network headquarters tonight because it's game week, folks. Football's back, baby. It is so good to be back in football season. There's a lot going on. Soccer's in full swing. They're knocking on the door of being a top 10 team. Alan Green just officially ended his tenure as Auburn athletic director today. Restaurants are closing and supposedly not closing in Auburn. School is in full swing. I mean, there is just plenty to talk about. And I know most of you are going to want to talk about Auburn football stuff, and we're going to do that. And we'll obviously give you an update on some of the content you can expect around that the rest of the week tonight as well. But right now, what we want to do is get you checked in here. This is our check-in period. Right now, whether you are watching on YouTube, on social media, Twitter or Facebook, hit that like button, that retweet button, that share button, share it into the Facebook group, invite a friend in to be part of our little family within the Auburn family, because it's always fun when we have tons of people here hanging out with us. And I expect these rooms to be getting even more crowded as we get further and further into football season tonight. So do that for me. Your check-in period. We'll say hello to you in a little bit here. Actually, right now, I can go ahead and see it. I see a bunch of you already checking in. So we got John checking in. Good to see you. Neil's here. We got Rob already checking in. Good to see all of you guys, a lot of our regulars. Hope to see a lot of you else checking in, even if you're watching on the live stream. Greetings from Fairhope Road says, good to see you. Checked in from home in East Snob, Cobb County. Yes, fellow East Snobber right here. In Cobb County. Guys, I just don't even know where to start with tonight. This is where I'm thankful that you all produce this show because I don't have to really dictate where we go. Sometimes I do. If it's a slow Wednesday, especially during those summers, sometimes I do. But these are one of those nights where definitely I think there's plenty of things that y'all want to know and talk about. So with that, we're going to go ahead and open up the call lines for you all to utilize tonight. If you'd like to do so, please do use it. It's at the top of the link. Call in. Depending on how many we get in, we'll let people hang around for as long as we can. But try to get your topic and question out there right at the start so we can make sure we don't miss an opportunity to get you an opportunity to talk about whatever it is you have on your mind tonight. But please do that. We will be getting out of here right at 9 or a little bit before, so don't hesitate either. I would go ahead and call in if you are planning to tonight. Don't wait. All right. In the meantime, we're going to just rumble through some comments and questions that you guys have in the chat, as we always do. And we'll shift gears whenever we have a caller, if we have a caller tonight. Neil, thank you for bringing up that I posted my predictions. My final prediction for 2022 is officially out here on YouTube, so go check that out if you haven't. I think you'll be surprised with what I predicted. 9-3. He says it right there. If you want to go see the breakdown of how that happened, I will go in. I won't go into detail here on that because I want you to go watch the video. But 9-3 is definitely where I sit at right now. And I didn't have to convince myself a whole lot for that 9-3, to be honest with you. I think I forced myself to give a third loss, not because I don't think that Auburn's not going to have some up and downs, but just because I think Auburn has a shot to win a lot of these games. I legitimately do. Tyler, yes, I am excited for game day because I will be with you and many others, I'm sure, at the game. Yes, so I can announce that I will be on campus as I always am, but I will be at the game and in there sharing some stuff from there. Good interviews from the defense today. Yes, so I'm glad you brought that up, Rob. So we have been working really hard to get a little bit more access into the athletic department. And we've made a little bit of a headway on that here over the last couple of weeks, just getting included in some informational stuff. So we now have more access to some of those interviews and things. We're not a traditional media entity that you can usually consider with Auburn, so we're always going to do things a little different than you see, but I'm hoping that things like that you just brought up will definitely be utilized a little bit more. We'll see how we can do that. Dusty, good to see you. Ant's counting down the days. It's not even 3 days at this point, is it? I mean, it's like 2 1/3 at this point. So just keep counting down those hours. Did you see that the Utah State AD who is interested in coming to Auburn? Yeah, I'm trying to find time amongst all the other things that we're trying to do here at E2C Network to post a video, to make and post a video about who I think will be or who I think are good candidates for the athletic director. I shared with you guys last live stream we did when on the Allen Green announcement live stream that I thought that Quentin Riggins is the guy for the job. I thought he's always been the guy for the job. But there are other ones out there. So yes, the Utah State one I have been hearing for quite some time. We'll see. My feeling is it is going to be an Auburn person this time. That is just my gut feeling. Don't have anything otherwise to think of that. Just something I'm kind of thinking about right now. How do things look at center with Brahms having to retire? Well, it depends on your outlook, Rhodes. Tate Johnson is in the 2 deep. He's the starter, followed by Jaleel Irvin and then Avery Jernigan, I believe, if I have that correct. I could probably pull that up now that I've got the media content now. How does it look? Well, we really won't know until we get into actual game time, right? There are a lot of people who are concerned about Tate Johnson's size and height and weight. Traditionally, your center's a little bit on the smaller side, traditionally. But that being said, there's a lot of people asking questions about that of Coach Harsin. He said in his interview this week, remember, I stressed to you guys, go watch the interviews. If nothing else, watch our summary videos for you because we're going to address the things that he talked about. Some speculation on top of it from us, myself, really. But that will really give you insight to some of these things like that. So, yes, it's concerning that Brahms isn't here, mainly for depth reasons. I think Tate Johnson's going to have a pretty good year. There's a lot of this nebulous stuff out here where I just have good feelings about it or even bad feelings and I don't have a solid reason why. But yes, that is, it's scary from a depth perception, maybe not so much from a, the sky is falling type of perception. 9 wins, Rob says. Yeah, I mean, listen, hey, 9 wins is a bit of a step out. I'm willing to step out there, though, for a little bit. Donovan, Auburn has always been known as the most unpredictable team in the SEC, possibly in college football. Do you think that still stands? Great question. Great question. I was actually thinking about this too, because that's been a lot of the narrative, especially amongst when we rally the troops. We've talked a lot about E2C Network in terms of TJ Finley circling the wagons together for protection, for rallying together. That's kind of our battle cry in these instances, that we have a history of doing that. Just because you have a history of doing that doesn't mean that it's going to always happen that way. I think there's a high likelihood. Now, how high is up to your opinion, that trend may not happen this year, that it actually may not be a great year. But I see a lot of reasons for optimism, which is why I made the prediction that I did. So maybe it stands, maybe it doesn't. All right, we'll get back to comments and questions here in a little bit, but we're going to welcome our first caller tonight. And there he is, Mr. Thomas Manville. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all this evening?
I'm doing well. I can't speak for everybody else in the chat, but I can bet you they are amped and ready, because we're what, 36, 7, how many? I can't do math. 72 hours, really, from Auburn football game day or something like that.
It's game week. It's game week. It's here. It's here. It's here. That's all we need to know.
Yes, that's all you need to know. All those long hours, weeks, and months of just pontificating, talking, season it up. It's finally here, baby. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. What's on your mind?
Well, like you mentioned a minute ago, y'all need to go back and watch Harsin's interview, and you really need to watch TJ Finley's interview that they did right there after he was named the starter. Like, if you look at TJ Finley in that interview, physically he's changed. Just overall, he has changed. He's a different guy than he was 6 months ago. He also referenced that he's lost a little bit of weight. He's down to about 240-ish, give or take. And he talked about baby face and baby fat, and it's gone. And just the way that he just commanded the room and answered the questions, and he looks like a starting quarterback. He does. He looks like he's ready to play that role.
It's funny that you mentioned the whole weight thing, and I'm glad he acknowledged it, because I will never forget this weekend. We had a pretty good spot where we were sitting at to really get a good look at the players. I was helping Clint Richardson. You guys know him a lot. He visited here. He was getting some more footage for himself for what he does, and I was helping him out, spot players. And we saw TJ come out of the tunnel. I even took a picture of him, shared it out, and I looked at him. I said, that man lost some weight. And I don't mean like in a bad way. I was like, I can clearly see, even as tall as that boy is, he's lost some weight. And he looks good. He looks like a quarterback that has really physically grown / developed into himself. His maturity and what he's saying. People are going to bring up the issue that happened at the very beginning of camp. And I'm not shucking that. Like that's a real thing. I'm trusting that was handled and that won't happen again. But in terms of, like you said, how he speaks, he recognizes, he even said he was not ready for last year. He recognizes that, and that's a big thing. Self-awareness of what you were up against and what you were able to provide last year. I loved what I heard about him from him.
Yeah. That was another point I was going to bring up is exactly what you just said. Man, it just seems like a different guy, and I'm all for it. If go watch that interview and tell me you don't think TJ Finley can be our starting quarterback. Go watch it, please.
There's plenty that'll tell you that.
They weren't watching the same thing I was, because if you look at him from spring interviews he did in spring till now, it's a different human being. He looks like he is in shape and ready to go, and I'm up for it. And then same thing with Tate. He's listed at 285. He's going to be our starter. I absolutely, it crushed me that Nick Brahms is going to be gone.
God, it's so dead.
As critical as I've been about the offensive line, and always will be, because that's just what I do. I hate it that Nick Brahms ain't going to be there. But we talked a couple of weeks ago about if he couldn't go with this injury, his job is to get the next man up ready to play. And he said he's staying with the team, and he's going to do that. Right. That makes that I'm good with that. He is executing all the way to the end, even if he can't dress out and play. But at 285, Harsin did say in his interview, they're not scared to put a little bit of more weight on these guys during season. I didn't think that was something they would do, so I was wrong about that, and I'll fully admit it. But I think by the Penn State game, a guy that's at 285, he could be sitting at about 295, and by the end of the year, about 305 pounds, which is a good size center at 6'4", especially if he is as strong as we're hearing he is.
You've got it. So go ahead, finish what you were saying there.
You don't have to be 330 to be strong.
So you got a question here from Dusty. He says, how do you feel about Tate after what Jason Jones said today? Did you watch the Jason Jones interview?
I have not gotten all the way through it. I got about 5 minutes into it before we started.
Right.
I'll have to go back and watch it, but I'm basing it off of what Harsin said in his interview and what I can gather from any other sources at this point.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I know people are concerned about it. Coach Harsin wouldn't put him out there if he didn't feel like he was the best one for the job. Because here's the proof in it. You've got a guy in Jaleel Irvin who's been here. I think he's a senior, or a junior at least. Been here a long time. If nothing else, you would think for seniority, for experience, he would throw him out there. That should tell you something about Tate Johnson. It also, not to be negative, but it also says something about Jaleel Irvin in terms of him not being given that responsibility. But, you can play that however you want based off your perspective. I choose to believe the best is being put out there. And I remember from Coach Harsin's press conference this week, a couple times he said this, and one was the defensive line, especially, I believe. But I think he even said it in reference to Tate Johnson, how Jaleel, Nick have really been pushing Tate to be ready for a moment like this. And so he's going to have a guy like Nick in his ear, helping him out, giving him the instruction, the correction. He's going to be getting coaching from the coaches. He's going to be getting coaching from Nick Brahms, the guy who was supposed to be there. So is it going to be a perfect time with Tate Johnson? No. But I don't feel like we had just lost control of the offensive line simply because of that.
Right. He still has to learn, and he's got a good 2-game window to really get ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not, I feel certain that Jaleel Irvin's probably going to be the guy to step in. Now, I'm not expecting it at all after what I hear about Tate, but I think we're in a good spot on the offensive line. I like the 2 deep, the depth chart they put out. I like that there's some guys that are either or, especially in the guard position. That's good if we run into an injury bug.
Right. And it's football. You will have some injuries, especially on offensive and defensive line. Defensive line, I feel we're really good where we're at with depth. Offensive line, I still feel okay. Obviously, the minus of Nick Brahms makes that up to question in terms of the middle of the field. Now you see why it was so important for poor Jeremiah Wright to come back again to the offensive line. It just felt like the other day we were talking about him making the switch back to defensive line. It was his 3rd switch at that time, and now he's back again. So it's just, you got to put pieces where they can be used. And even with Jeremiah Wright not spending a whole lot of time, at least the amount that the rest of the offensive line was spending at the guard position this preseason, he made it into that 2 deep. And so you got to think that he's in a position where he can be able to produce some good things there. So, well, we won't probably learn a lot about the offensive line in these first 2 games. That Penn State game is going to be the big one.
Oh, yeah. You're going to find out quick if they're ready or not.
Yeah, really, really quick. What else you got on your mind? What else specifically?
Let's touch on Mercer real quick. If you watched the game or went back and watched highlights or looked up what their stats are, if you're a nerd like I am, they put a pretty good amount of points on the board. They put some yards on the field, and that's good. And Harsin said that they respect Mercer. You do. You always respect. Anybody can win a football game at any point in time. App State versus Michigan, 2007. Nobody saw it coming. Still one of the greatest games I've ever watched in my life. Anybody can win at any point in time. So you better be prepared. You can't look ahead a couple of weeks to a big game. You can't even look ahead to the 4th quarter. You're here to play football. Let's do it right. But as far as I'm concerned with the size differences I'm looking at, I'm going to go ahead and send out my condolences to Mercer's offensive tackles. I'm sorry for you boys. It's going to be a long day.
It's a long day whenever you got Derek Hall and Iku Leota staring at you.
Or anybody on the defensive line, because the package dictate how they rotate. Sometimes there may be 2 edges. Sometimes there may be 1. Sometimes we may have 4 or 5 down linemen. It's a long day for those 2 tackles, man. Their feet, they move like pond water, and they don't move.
Yeah. I feel bad on a lot of levels for, these. Well, we said that last year against Georgia State, and we look what happened. That's why you can never take a game for granted. I think Mercer's good. I think in my prediction, I said 45-17 on that video. That's one score I will give you from there if you haven't watched that yet. I think they can put up some points, just not enough to keep up with us, in our defense. Those points, they might get a touchdown with the starters in, just because of the newness of everything. Those other points don't come until we're into the latter half of the second half and start putting some others in to get some experience. We're going to be talking a lot more in detail about Mercer tomorrow night. Remember, we're trying this season 8 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday night shows for our preview shows for the game. So we obviously can talk about it tonight, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail about all that. I got time for one more comment or question. What you got?
Man, your season prediction did surprise me a little bit this afternoon. I had a chance to watch it at work, and I'm not going to knock you. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But, man, one of those losses you picked, I'm going, man, I can't do that. I can't stomach that.
Oh, so you're surprised with the Ole Miss loss?
Yes, yeah, I am, and I get it. Lane Kiffin's crazy, and crazier things have happened, and I don't know if I can stomach that one.
I can't either. But it's not so much to do with Lane Kiffin as it is just looking at where Auburn could be in that context. It's more to do with us than it does with them. And you gotta, you hope that you lose to a team that's at least decent, and Ole Miss will be decent. They're going to be great offensively, probably not defensively. I think it was in the 30s for my score for both teams there. But you're not going to find a lot of surprises in my prediction video because, there's the Georgia loss. There's not a loss to a certain team. I think there's probably you brought up the controversial loss I picked, and then there's a controversial win in there, I think, as well, that I know some fans of some fans here that do not like a certain SEC team, and they're the ones that are like, Kyle, you better have picked that one as a win. But anyway, here, since I gave mine, you want to give your official prediction on the year?
9 wins with a bowl game.
9 wins the bowl. Well, that's what I got. 9-3.
I'm gonna.
The bowl game. So you're saying 9-4, then probably.
Correct.
Okay, got you now. Now I'm following you. So I'm going to assume Alabama and Georgia are those 2 expected losses.
Correct.
I'm going to assume Texas A&M is another one.
I as much as I don't want to admit it, I'm a little worried about Arkansas. That's the one I'm most worried about.
See, that's where you and I are going to differ.
I can't get away from it. It's just that bug in my ear. I don't want to play Arkansas this year. Not because they're good. I just don't. We've won X amount in a row. I don't want to play them. I just want to leave it there. Yeah. That's why that one bothers me. And I think Mississippi State is kind of a toss-up. And people have told me I'm crazy, but so is Mike Leach. So let's
do that while in the middle of sipping something.
I apologize, but no, that man is absolutely schizoid. He's nuts. He's a weird football genius in a crazy, you don't want to admit it way.
An idiot savant.
Yeah, it just bothers me. It really does. Man, I really want to crush LSU.
I would love to crush LSU. To me, it just feels like the year where that's going to come down to the wire. Like, just, I called it a slobber knocker in the prediction show or the prediction video, because this just feels like that year where LSU's talent is going to try to keep them in it. I don't know if it can. You'll have to find out my prediction over there. But, if this was a year in Baton Rouge, I might feel differently. But we've knocked that curse, so maybe I don't feel differently. So, how nice is it to not have to worry about that anymore? No more curse, no more cigar curse.
It's a lot more comfortable sitting on the front porch with my LSU friends.
Oh, you got some of those? I'm sorry.
I grew up with them. They're good people, and man, we can cook.
They can. I will give them that, and I know some good LSU fans too, as much as it pains me to admit it. But yeah, it is nice to have that curse gone. Good to hear from you tonight, Thomas. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely, guys. War Eagle. Have a good night.
War Eagle. All right. Always good to hear from Thomas. If you want to call in, please do. The phone lines are open, and they will stay open in a little bit, probably until about 8:50. We'll probably have to close it, even if we're on the call with someone. We'll finish the call, obviously, but just because we'll want to be wrapping up. In the meantime, we'll get back to some of the comments and questions until we get another call. Let me go ahead and give you a couple of things here. It feels like a good place in the show to obviously want to remind you to check out our friends at friends at allthingsauburn.net. If you're looking for a place to stay at Auburn for game day, especially, there are some availability still for some surprising game days. Penn State's open. I believe they still have some vacancies for this week. So if you're planning to come to Auburn and want a place to stay very close to campus, 0.3 miles walking, it's 5-minute walk. It depends on how fast you walk, but it's close to everything, right by Mama Goldberg's. Go check them out. allthingsauburn.net. Also, give you again, I want to mention this again, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Please come by and be here. We will be doing a live stream, our first preview show. Right now, it'll be just me and your comments and questions. We may or may not have a guest. I'm still working on that because of timing and everything like that. So that's going to be the schedule for Thursday. For Friday, be looking for probably some type of video from the locker room tour. I don't know how and when we're going to be able to put that up. It's going to be a live stream. Just the best thing you can do is to be subscribed and hit the notification bell to everything. You have to actually go in there and hit all notifications so you don't miss anything. Live streams, uploads, even posts from YouTube. We can do some of those. You don't want to miss this weekend. I am pumped for everything. Michael, will you be at the Arkansas game? Michael, my answer is always the same. If it is a home game, I will be there, with the exception of San Jose State. I know I've gone back and forth on that. It looks like I will not be there. officially now, unless something else drastically changed. So don't expect me to be there, but that means we'll be able to do a more traditional, because I'll be on the road still, somewhat post-game live stream, at least not from the mobile broadcast studio, aka Kyle's car. Rob has a lot of LSU fans. Got my MBA at Louisiana State. Fun rival. Fun is putting it a certain way. They're interesting to say the least. Got your tickets. Awesome. I got my tickets for Mercer today. I kind of get my tickets as they come throughout every single week. Mike Leach reminds me of John Daly. That does sound like a pretty apt description. I'm not super familiar with John Daly, but I do know the reputation, and that seems very, very true. If the Mercer game is not a blowout, then we are in for a long, painful season. What do you consider a blowout, WT? What do you consider a blowout? Because to me, 45-17, which was my prediction on the video today, is a blowout. Some people would actually not consider that one, but I think that is definitely going to be very much the case. Mike, I actually will be in section 3, I believe. So if you see a guy, I think I'll be wearing my E2C Network shirt. See, that's the problem, is I want to wear my E2C Network shirt all the time there, but then I never like do the wear white, wear blue, because it's a gray shirt with my logo on it. So y'all can find me. I just feel like I'm not doing my part. So 45-17 would be a blowout. So there you go. So I predict a blowout. And you'll be, we got 1, 2, and 3 covered. We need, okay. We need a signal to yell out so we can try to find each other. I want to make this happen. If y'all feel comfortable doing that in a crowd, I want you to give me a caw. Just if you see me or if you think I'm in the vicinity of during the game, I know it's very loud. Give me a caw and I will try and find you. That's what I always give the caw when I'm like, we go to our on family vacation to theme parks, so we get separated, or if like we have separated and then find each other again, and one group hasn't seen the other, I'll just give out the caw and they find me. So give me that, and we will definitely do that. We need some E2C family t-shirts. Great news for you, Rob. The T Public store is available in the description for you to buy the shirts with our logo and plenty of other options there. Obviously, don't have the budget to give them out all free, or I would, but you can go check those out if you want. And normally, I get an update on when the sales are. Usually, they have them towards the end of the month. It's probably past, but if you're interested, go check it out. They're really good t-shirts. At least the one that I bought from them I wear it obviously all the time, not just because I have to, but because I like to wear it. All right, more comments and questions coming in here. Let's see. Dusty, I lived on LSU's campus for 6 months. Loved them. Fun people. The Bama hate is hard. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of things that are interesting there. Arkansas is the Wear Navy game. Yeah, there's some interesting choices for the wear specific color game. Like you would think we would wear white for Penn State to use it on them, but WT, I don't think if it comes down to the fourth quarter to beat Mercer, we are having a good season. I understand that mentality, but I also don't agree with it. You have to take the poor instances of one situation and not extrapolate them so far over an entire season. For instance, if you took Georgia State, you would have said, we don't even need to play Alabama. Yeah, we lost, but it took a miraculous last-minute drive for them to do so, and it still took them several overtimes to pull it off still. So that's why you can't take those, in my opinion, and kind of extrapolate them too far. You can say, okay, we have a problem. We need to fix this before certain other games come up. If something like that were to occur, a closer game with Mercer, there's some problems, clearly, but we can get them fixed. Y'all need E2C signs in 3 sections. Oh, man, that'd be awesome. I carry so much stuff with me throughout the day because of, I live stream Tiger Walk for y'all. I haven't decided if we're going to do the pep rally at, the Four Corners pep rally this game or not. I've discovered that some of y'all like it, but not everybody likes it. So I'm going to try to do it at select games this year. It'll depend. It's probably going to be a last minute decision. Like, you won't see a preview or an update saying like, this is coming up on the channel. It'll be one of those things that's kind of like decided on the moment. Everyone keep in mind that Auburn in 2017 beat Mercer by 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Mercer's got a history apparently of good offense. Now, that was obviously 5 years ago, so I don't even know if they retained the same coaches, scheme. So I can't speak to if this is the same type of thing. I just think our defense is ready to come out and make a statement in the first game, especially our first stringers. And the Auburn team was great. So there you go. So sometimes it doesn't even matter. It could be a great Auburn team, and they just struggle with some teams for some reason. I agree that the Alabama game was very close, but the season was not very good. Again, that's kind of subjective. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a great season, but I'm also not going to say it was a bad season either. It was really, I think, if you came into it with tempered expectations, as I did, even though I think I predicted 8-4 last year, I kind of expected us to go at minimum 7-5, or fall back to 7-5 just because of how things happened. If you came in with tempered expectations, it wasn't such a bad season. I'm not saying you did, but a lot of people had convinced themselves that Harsin was the second coming and that he was going to pull off another Malzahn like first year. Completely different situations. And that's not an indicator that I think Harsin can't work. That's just simple context. Yes, we did win the West in 17. Just couldn't get that second game. The question that will always be asked, what happens in that SEC championship game against Georgia if Kerryon Johnson is healthy? What happens? My heart wants 9-3 like Kyle, but with so many questions, I'm going 7-5. And that is very fair. I found myself in that situation as well. The questions for me this year, as opposed to last year, were less of a unknown. There are still unknowns, but we know more. We know what Harsin wants to do. It's a matter of putting out there in the field with new coordinators, new scheme, all that kind of stuff. We kind of know what to expect in some areas, and that's what's made me okay with some of the unknowns and why I felt comfortable stepping out there so you guys can remind me and point and laugh later when we're not 9-3 that what an idiot you were. You'll know what an idiot I am if you watch the quarterback prediction video. How's that Zach Calzada pick look right now? Again, I said in that video too, we're going off of the information that we have at the time. Boy, how things change. That's why you never, ever, ever count somebody out. Rob, we can obviously have people share that, but if we can, let's table those for tomorrow night if you're going to be able to be here. A lot of the higher level preview stuff I want to save for tomorrow night, at least on my end. They use Gus's playbook. Hopefully it will be an advantage for the defense since they had to defend it in practice for 2 years. Yeah, but those 2 years, so much has changed. So many people have left. That's not, in my opinion, that doesn't really factor into the equation. Our 2010 team beat Arkansas State by 20. This shouldn't be a cause for concern if that happens. There, you know what? Not just this stream, but there is a legitimate sentiment on social media in the fan base that people are more worried about Mercer than I think they should be. And this is also me saying, remember what happened in Georgia State last year? I lived it. I'm finding that interesting. I have to think it's the combination of a lot of people being disappointed by TJ Finley being named the starter, seeing them do impressive things in their first game, although keep that in context as well. completely different type of football, division of football. You can look good against your typical opponents. When you step into real big boy football, Power 5, much less, Division 1A, it's a whole different world. Whole different world. All right. Lost my place where we were. Do you think Coach Harsin survives the season? I'm hoping so, but I just don't know. There's a lot of people asking this question too, W. You must be like in those same groups. I don't know. I mean, so much can go wrong and go right at this point. I think you'll be able to answer that question a lot more firmly at the end of this home stretch. If he sweeps it, I think that's a pretty good show right there that he's going to take care of business at home, and let's get everything else cleaned up and we can start making some more solid work on these away games, even if they don't go as planned. I also understand why you're asking this question too, because it's kind of back to what's happened recently with Allen Green. Again, today it was his official last day. A lot of people assume that because Allen's gone, his safety net's gone. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. It is only my speculation. Allen Green has nothing to do with whether Harsin would have survived or not. Him being here and not being here makes no difference. Allen Green cashed all his chips, in my opinion, to save Harsin this last time, or to not save him in a sense, to correct the mistake. And you only have so many chips to cash, so it wouldn't have made a difference. I will believe improvement has happened on the offensive line when I see it. Amen. That would change my outlook on the season drastically. I 100% agree. I just got a good feeling about some of these boys. And not that and when I say this, please, I hope it doesn't come off this way. I am in no way happy that Nick Brahms isn't playing, because I'm actually very sad. Dude loves Auburn, came back for another year, but sometimes it's good to get a little new blood in there. All right, we'll keep moving here. 2019 was one of the most frustrating 9-3 seasons of all time. One of the best Auburn defenses. Yeah, absolutely, it was. Again, it's a team sport, not just a one-sided sport. So yeah, that definitely was frustrating, but again, you got to look at context. Freshman quarterback, going to make a lot of mistakes, and he did, but he also won a lot of games for us too. Oh, which brings me back. Some people, I think it was Neil, asked me, how hard are you going to laugh if Nix beats Georgia? I think that's what the question was. I'm not going to scroll all the way back up to the top there. But I think that's what you asked. There's a part of me that if Bo Nix were to go off, would want to kind of be petty and, laugh at all the Bo Nix detractors. But again, got to go by my same rule. Just because he does that, if he does that, it's a big if, that doesn't make him a world beater. That doesn't make him, make us be in the wrong for not sticking with him and convincing him to stay. I'll be happy for him. That's because I'm rooting for the kid. If you're rooting for Georgia this weekend, I'm gonna question you as an Auburn fan, and I'm gonna question whether I need to come find you and take your Auburn card. Don't root for Georgia simply because you want to see Bo Nix fail. I don't think that's going on in a wide sense, but it would not surprise me. Minnesota ruined it after they decided they wanted to catch everything. I didn't get to watch that game because I was at work that day. My previous job. Thomas, rumor out there, Jason Jones was injured at practice day. Did you hear anything? Haven't heard anything. Also been busy with many other things here. So I have not heard that. If that's the case, we've got some pretty good depth there ready to go. Injuries are going to happen, and all you can do is just keep moving forward. So haven't really heard anything on that point. Keep scrolling down here. Donovan, Reese Davis. There's the rumor. Why? Not picking on you, Donovan. What is up with all the what is this? What is that? What is it? We've got a game coming up, folks. Be excited. Stop worrying about all these things and what all these. these pontificators are trying to put seeds of doubt in you. Reese Davis is a Bama boy. Of course, he wants to put those seeds of doubt in there. Anyway, not picking on you, Donovan, but I'll address this. Reese Davis said that Harsin would leave Auburn even if he had a really good season. Maybe so. I mean, there was pretty good authority that he was in the running or being considered heavily for some of the open jobs out west this season. And it didn't happen, thankfully, because that would have really put Auburn in a tailspin. Yeah, I mean, listen, the guy who brought you in is gone. Sure, you're not going to feel as supported and maybe want to consider something else. But what if you go undefeated? Get this thing going, you know? So, Thomas, I saw you pushing the I hate the boosters banner thing. If you don't buy Yellowwood, you're not supporting the Auburn Tigers. I hate to break it to you, but if you continue to degrade the boosters, the big scary people that we put out there, and you're referring to Jimmy Rain and the boosters, then you don't have money for your program or as much money as you used to have. Be careful. The only time that I'm going to cheer against Oregon is when I'm cheering for UW. I forgot you have a lot of history up there. Yeah, so I guess that's fair. I mean, frankly, I'm not cheering for Oregon. I'm cheering for Bo because he's an Auburn guy, he's an Auburn grad, and will always be that. So that's why I do that. Would he have spoke to the media after he got hurt? Dusty, I think that's a fair point, but I think the answer is yes if you want to maintain a image of where everything's good. What would have been interesting to say is, and maybe that's where the rumor comes from, people that got to be in the media room today, maybe they saw him limping or something like that. Maybe that's where that comes from. I don't know. I didn't, obviously it was not a big enough rumor. I would have been notified of it through many channels that I have that something was up there. Maybe it's just now getting through the grapevine. So maybe that's why I haven't heard it. Any truth that Grandpa's Dustbusters? Has it been a year since that's happened? What a time. I know that you're just one guy, but I see you with that narrative a lot. And so I'm trying to help you I'm trying to help you be better. That's why I got on you a little bit about that. Donovan, I'm a senior at Auburn, had a class with Bo, and he's generally a very nice dude. He deserves our support. I agree wholeheartedly. If any of you guys and ladies, obviously you all call in. That's what the open phone line is for. I would love to hear perspectives of people that, had classes even with current players now or, recently and stuff like that. I think those are really cool things because they give you kind of perspective on things like, are they nice? Are they studious? Are they taking advantage of the system? Sometimes those things are not so good insights, but it sounds like you had some pretty good insights about him. So I wish Bo nothing but the best, but he is my concern for him and interest level of him is very minimal outside of this Georgia game, because we all should be rooting for him in this Georgia game because it would be nothing better. It would be so good to watch the Georgia Bulldogs have to come back and lose to Bo Nix in their first game defending their national title. How hilarious would that be? On so many levels. It would be so good. Donovan says, is Tim Cook a booster? I have no clue who our boosters are. Honestly, I'll tell you right now. Do you go to a game? You're a booster. I'm a booster. I think there is actually some official language in an NCAA document. My understanding is, by the letter of the law, if you contribute in any way money to an athletic program, buying tickets, buying apparel, donations, you are considered a booster. Now, the colloquial sense would be donating money, meaning those that are part of the the different levels of societies, the Pat Dye Society, the Eagles. There's different ones. They bring them up on board every football game. So anybody that supports financially in any way Auburn athletics is a booster. So if we hate on the boosters, you're hating on yourself. Well, but see, Thomas, that's two different things. Board of trustees are not boosters. Now, some of them may give money, absolutely, but that's two different things. And I think that's where I get irritated, not specifically with you, with this whole narrative of, I hate the boosters, hate the board of trustees. They're used so interchangeably. And when I see that from others, especially not necessarily you or people here, it's what kind of gets me irritated, because I'm like, that's such an ignorant argument. You don't even know who you're actually talking about. But there's also the big bad boogeyman of the board of trustees. Are they perfect? I'm sure not. But I've yet to see concrete evidence, be told concrete evidence from trusted sources that something shady has gone on. So until then, it's all just smoke to me. But sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. So to what degree is the question? I had a psychology class with Stan White. He was cool, only showed up for the exams. See, this is what I needed right here. Thank you. He was cool, only showed up for the exams. He also sat one seat above and to the side of me, not saying he cheated, but we both got the same grade. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. I haven't rooted for Oregon since they played Florida State. Yeah, I think there's very few times I find myself, Bo aside, wanting to root for Oregon. I think when USC was good and they were like one of the few that could do something against them in the Pac-12, I was obviously rooting for Oregon a lot. Yeah, there were a lot of instances like that, but that's it. All right, we're about 15 minutes from 9 o'clock. Again, I will be shutting down the phone lines within the next 5 to 7 minutes or so. So if you are wanting to call, I would go ahead and get in line now. Don't miss out on that. It's fine if you can't tonight. I know everybody's just sitting there kind of waiting, and we've got tomorrow night to discuss a lot of high-level Mercer stuff. But tonight, if you're wanting to call in and get your voice heard, please do so. No, not Stan. I haven't seen Kevin here yet, so I guess it's up to me to be the resident sunshine booster. 11-1 is my prediction. Would love to say 12-0, but I don't know we can get past Bama. I hope so, though. Now, Devin, I am going to call you a sunshine bumper on that. But I say so with all the love and respect that I can, because I would much rather you be a sunshine pumper than a Debbie Downer. Because there's a lot of people that are Debbie Downers because it's the popular thing to do, and it gets the most likes and retweets, and it's much easier to be a sourpuss than it is to be a sunshine pumper. I guarantee you of that. So you sunshine pump away. Let's see here. I went to the Rangers game in 2019, the day before the Auburn Oregon game, and funded their new stadium. I never got a certificate. Fair. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant on that one. And then, yeah, listen, 11-1 might be pushing it. I think me saying 9-3 was pushing it. And I cannot reiterate this enough, guys. Auburn, for the majority of these games, has the ability to win them all. I mean, frankly, they have the ability to win all of them. Is the likelihood high for all of them? No, probably not. I'd say obviously Alabama and Georgia, just based on speculation, fall into that category. There's a few others, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, by the media standards, Arkansas, that are kind of pushes for Auburn. Maybe LSU, just because it's LSU. But yeah, it really just depends. Jim says 9-3. It's what I said, Jim. We're on the same wavelength here. OG BBE TV, taking wife and kids to their first college game ever. Couldn't be happier that it's at Jordan here. Now, are y'all Auburn fans or just going to one? I couldn't really tell if that's just I'm going to my first one, or if I'm an Auburn fan. It's our first time going there. Yeah, listen, I don't think the weather is going to be great. So I hope that doesn't knock on wood, put a damper on things. That was a terrible joke. But it's a fun place to be. Just I'm not even talking about what people typically talk about as being fun on college game day. I'm just, the atmosphere is just off the charts. I was walking around my house today looking at, things, just thinking about a lot of things we've got going on. And I was like, you know what? I get to be in Auburn this weekend. It's so awesome. I'm so excited. I was there last weekend. It was awesome, but I just love being in Auburn. Awesome to hear. My sister was Jarquez and Jabari's professor, and Jarquez was shy. I actually am not surprised by that. He does seem like a shy guy to me, even though he always wears that cowboy hat and takes his shirt off a lot. Jabari sat in the front and ate 6 bags of Chick-fil-A and fell asleep, but she said they were both very nice. Well, at least they sat in the front. I bet they are guaranteed to sit in the front, or are asked to sit in the front by the coaches and their support staff. Probably even checked in on because of that. For that very reason. Oops. Got my little system here kind of confusing now. Let me jump back over here. 60% chance of storms this Saturday and probably next Saturday too. Penn State game may be wet. After going through, I think it was the 2019 or 18 season where it was just miserably hot. I'm talking awful. Just miserable. Maybe it's not so bad to have some rain showers there to keep it cool, or cooler on the cooler side. All right. We are going to close the phone lines down, but we have one caller in, so we're going to let him in to say hello, Mr. Kevin. How are you doing, sir?
War Eagle, are you looking forward to the game Saturday?
I'm tickled pink, sir. Whatever other expressions you want to use there. I cannot.
I think Robbie Asper will come in the second quarter or third quarter.
Well, that answers a question I forgot to cover earlier. Somebody had asked it in the chat. How much did we see Robbie? So you said when?
Either second quarter or third quarter.
Do you think?
After we score 4 touchdowns.
Okay, so we're up 28-0 real quick, and he traditionally. It's my experience and understanding that that you don't see the backup come in until the second half. So I don't think we'll see him in the second quarter. It wouldn't surprise me if we get up big and then they let TJ do one more drive just to get in the habit of coming out after halftime. And then if he leads us down to score, Robbie comes in and takes it on the rest of the game. Listen, I'm excited to just see Robbie get out there in legitimate game time and play.
He's my best friend. I watched him at Hoover High School.
Did you? So you actually went to a lot of his high school games?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we need to know about Robbie, like from your opinion?
He can run the ball real good.
Yeah, that's the big thing that they share about him.
Good arms to throw too.
I've seen a little bit of his throwing. There's some things I saw that make me a little bit worried. He seems a little erratic at times, but hey, if he can make plays with his feet, we may need that at times.
Yeah, and the wide receivers too.
Yes. What do you think about the depth chart? Did you see the depth chart? You got Shed, Tavarish, and Malcolm Johnson as your starting wide receivers. What do you think about that?
How about is Jabari starting?
No, he's not. I think he is backing up Malcolm Johnson. So, yes, I think that's correct. You got Camden Brown backing up Shed, Javaris backing up Malcolm, and Coy Moore backing up Tavarish. I think I maybe flip-flopped a couple of those, but that's your starters and your backups.
Tavarish Dawson?
Tavarish Dawson is starting. Yes, he is your
my.
I know. That's the reaction of the evening.
They need that Brown start. He's good.
He is. However, he dropped a lot of passes in the practice game. So something tells me he maybe had a great spurt in, fall camp and then kind of faded off at the end there a little bit, which is why he didn't win outright.
Do you know what time the Tiger Walk is?
Let me see if I had the list out here. I don't have it with me. So it's always 2 hours before game time. So just when it'd be 4 o'clock. My advice to you is to be in your spot at 3:30 at the latest, because they have gone early before. You never know how big the crowds are going to be. If it's raining, I bet it's not going to be that hard to get, a view, but just so you know.
I'm going to the Missouri game or Penn State game.
I will be at Missouri and Penn State. I was thinking.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully get a chance to meet there.
You know
all right.
where all the tailgate be at this year?
Tailgates are everywhere. They're everywhere. I got time for one more comment or question. What you got, buddy?
I think Tank will have 100 yards Saturday.
I hope so. I think this is definitely a team that he can definitely do it against, and I definitely think that we will have. How about this? We will have a 100-yard rusher. Will it be Tank? Probably. Maybe somebody else too.
Then one of my friends said Jabbar, the other running back, he will have 100 yards too.
Jarquez Hunter?
Yeah.
Maybe so. That'd be a good sign that he is completely healthy. Hey, Kevin, I'm glad you got in here right at the end of our live stream. I'm glad to hear from you tonight, buddy. Excited to potentially see you.
Be
all
safe.
right, War Eagle. You too.
Bye.
All right. Always great to hear from some of our regulars. Always be encouraged, folks, to call in. Take advantage of it when you can, because it's not always. We do this on Wednesday nights for you, open mic night. Our Booster Club members can do it on some other select live streams whenever we're able to take those. I love hearing from you guys, obviously in the chat and the comments, but a lot of you that have been here for a while, I'd love to hear some voices and see some faces potentially, because you don't have to do it on camera. But I appreciate all of you being here. We're going to wrap up here in a second, but let me hit some last minute stuff here. I also thank you, WT, for bringing up the people that have been here for a while and supporting the show. I really do appreciate that. You have a lot of options for content, especially on YouTube, Auburn just in general, out on other social media platforms. The fact that you guys spend time with me means a lot. Should I watch your live stream or your final record prediction? Both. You're asking the content creator whether you should watch one or the other. I think my answer is always going to be both. You should watch both, but it depends on if you're wanting my record and explanation. That's going to be the thing. We talk a little bit about it here if you're just now getting into the live stream. But we talk about other things as well. We have a few callers and things like that. So my answer is always going to be both. Donovan, don't be shy. I do not bite hard unless you're Brian from the last call, the last live stream. I will put when there's people that are saying some things, I will put them to the test and make sure they understand exactly what they're saying. But I don't do it out of meanness. I do it because I want us to be better as an Auburn family. Who is the second player on our Who is the second best player on our offense, TJ or Jarquez? Or maybe even Shed. I guess you mean Tank's the first. Maybe Jarquez. Oh, that means so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the kind words. Well, see, it's funny because a lot of people think I do sugarcoat things. So it's all a matter of perspective, right? Devin, you should not be nervous on camera. You do a great job every single time you call in. I promise, do not be nervous. I am not here to make you look foolish. So I know that probably last live stream where I kind of got into it with a caller, that probably made a lot of you nervous to call in. But my goal is not to intimidate. My goal is not to make fun. My goal is not to make it an unpleasant experience for you. Just know we're going to tackle subjects when they come up. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Reminders on the way out. 8 p.m. tomorrow, preview show for Auburn versus Mercer. We'll dive into it. I've got some information from the athletic department too, so we're going to use some of that to talk about it. We're going to dive into it. So please be here if you can. Tell a friend to be here. On your way out, smash the like button, hit the retweet button, share button, all that kind of stuff on social media. Subscribe if you haven't, and check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support our content. Those would be the Booster Club over at patreon.com/E2C Network. Or hit the join button here to be a channel member for $1 a month. those are ways you can help keep the lights on. There's the T Public Store, PayPal, all that good stuff. Big thing, subscribe. Doesn't cost a thing, but if you want to help financially keep the lights on, that is a way that you can do it. Thank y'all so much for being here and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. It means the world that you spend the time with me and with us. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It's game week, baby. Stay tuned to the channel, to social media, and the podcast, because we got a lot of content coming your way for Mercer Week. Let's get it.